Well, I was born in Greenfield, Kansas, and I was raised on a farm, and I done farm work until I was 19, and then the Army drafted me because I'd hardly ever got off the farm until I got in the service. The basic training was in Camp Roberts, California, and it was hot. It was July and August, September. One day it was 117. I remember that very well. War was on hot and heavy in 44. In fact, it was practically over with. It ended in Europe in 45, in May of 45. So I got in on the tail end of it. Actually, my trip to Europe was more like a tour. The only live German I saw while the war was still on was in the custody of 2 French policemen, so he didn't represent any kind of a threat to me. I like to joke that Hitler, when he heard I was on the continent, he gave up, but that's just a joke. The Battle of the Bulge had just ended. In fact, they kind of rushed us through parachute training just to get us over there because we lost a lot of troops in the Battle of the Bulge, and they needed infantry replacements, and that's what I was an infantry replacement. I was trained in a heavy weapons platoon, and that entailed the use of the 88 millimeter mortar, which was they had 2 mortars, I guess. Mine was a heavy duty, but outside of that, I was just a plain old infantryman. The parachute training, that came after basic training. And I volunteered for that because I was only making $50 a month, and after I took out several allowances, I only had $6.75 left. And the parachute training paid $50 a month more. So that's the reason I volunteered, strictly for money reasons. We landed in, well, first we landed in Liverpool, and then we went from there to Southampton, and then from there across the channel to Le Havre, France. In northern France, an airfield designated B-54, I think, and we were to jump behind enemy lines, but Patton overran the ground we were to jump on. But we were actually dressed in full battle garments, and the planes were warmed up, and at the very last minute they called off the mission, and that didn't make me mad at all. To qualify for an infantry replacement, you had to be qualified to shoot the M1 rifle, and I actually got an expert badge for that, which is the highest award, I think. I believe it starts out as a marksman, and then a sharpshooter, and an expert. It's the 3 categories. Well, I don't know how many miles away the live action was. It must have been several hundred, because they were going to drop us by airplane. Otherwise, they'd have took us in by truck, I think. But I never saw any live action whatsoever. I was happy the war was over, because I could care less whether I saw any combat or not. I was just over there because I had to be. Over the years, I lost track of all my Army buddies, and we quit writing. I have one in North Carolina that I still call once in a while, but outside of that, it just kind of passed by the wayside. But there's a lot of camaraderie when you're in the Army. Well, I was never really homesick. I don't know whether it's because I didn't have a close family life or not. But that part didn't bother me. I was never homesick. Didn't know what girls were until I got out of the Army. Well, the day the war ended, I happened to be in Lille, France, and I never seen Frenchmen go so wild in all my life. I thought it was like the Mardi Gras, if you know what the Mardi Gras is like. It was chaos. If we'd had more points, why, you'd have went to Berlin as Army of Occupation, but I didn't have enough points since I was a newcomer. So we were destined to go to Japan, and while I was home on leave, the war in Japan ended. So I lucked out all the way around. So I guess you could say my World War experience was more like a vacation tour. But we just happened to be in Branson, Missouri at the same time he was there promoting a book that he had wrote. I can't even tell you the title of the book, although I did buy it. And I got to shake hands with him, but I couldn't converse much with General Tibbets because he was practically deaf. He conversed through, I think, a niece or a granddaughter, I forget which. But we couldn't carry on a conversation, but he could understand what she was saying, I guess, because he was familiar with reading lips, I suppose. But he dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima, and I suppose that hastened the end of the war in Japan, so that kind of saved my life too. I lucked out all the way around as far as action goes. But I think dropping the atomic bomb hastened the end of the war a little bit. But I don't know whether there'd have been much resistance if we'd invaded the mainland or not, because I think they were done for. But maybe some people have the attitude if it shortened the war by one day, it was worth the effort. I don't know. It all depends on how you look at it, I guess.